Hi, how you doing? While I'm waiting, I'm on my office hour right now. I thought what I'd do is create a video of um, how to start out in Acme or how to start your Acme database in Access for next week. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen. I've never used this for just recording by myself. Normally, I record the class, but we'll do this. And this is kind of what you'd see if you come to my office hours. You can see me. And so now here's my screen. It says how to create this Acme database. And I'm just going to leave this up here so I can see it. If you scroll down in the assignment, this is the assignment for lesson 8. And it spells out exactly how you build the database. Okay. Now, excuse me, I got a nasal thing going on this morning. Um, So Access is a relational database management system. That means that the tables in them usually are related to other tables. What it does is it prevents us to having duplicate data. Sometimes in computers, having duplicate data is a good thing. Like in other words, if you're backing up your files or stuff like that. But when we're creating a database, we don't want duplicate data because what happens then is we end up with orphan records and things like that, where the data might be different. In other words, let's say we were doing a person, an employee, and we have an address and then they move. And if it doesn't get moved in all those places, if it has duplicate data, then our data is wrong. Okay, which address do we send their check to, for example? So in this case, with an RDBMS, Relational Database Management System, we don't have that problem because their address will only appear once throughout the whole database. Okay. Now, again, the hierarchy of data that comes with databases is the database itself, then the file or tables is underneath that, and that's a group of records about a certain thing, an entity of sorts. So I might have a table of my employees. I could have a table of my customers. I could have a table of my equipment. I could have a table of anything really. And then inside my table are records of each one, let's say, of my employees, each one of my customers, or each one of the parts in a machine, whatever. Then inside each one of those records are fields. And that could be, let's say that I have an employee table with employee records inside. And then the field would be like their first name, last name, address, date of birth, uh, years they've been employed, whatever. And then inside a field is a character, like the D in my first name would be the character. Okay. So you have that hierarchy of data in those in your database. Then we start connecting things. The first, always, almost always, the first field we're going to create in a record will be a unique field to identify the person. It's called the key field. For example, you have an ICC ID, okay? You're the only one that has it. Same thing, your social security number, even though we don't normally use those anymore for security purposes, but it uniquely identifies you as the person you are. So it's always used to uniquely identify that record, okay? So just read over this and read over the chapter, okay? And I'm going to introduce you to some things that I do in my databases that you're not going to see when you do SAM and that. Okay, this is real world stuff I've learned over the years, uh, stuff like that. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom, and I'm just going to click my. I have access set up on my bar down here, so I'm just going to click it, create a new Comes up here, I want a blank database. It's going to ask me, what do I want to call it? And I'll call it, in this case, you guys are going to be creating Acme, so I'll just make it called Acme. Hit create. One thing you'll notice real quick here is that you don't have to save all the time when you're creating a database in Access, because it saves every time you try to move around, it'll say you got to save, you need to save. Okay? So this brings up what's called the data sheet view. Okay? In our class, you will not create your tables in the data or the schema. The schema is just, what are you going to require the person to put in? First name, last name, middle initial, address, da 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 da. So it doesn't show the schema. This shows the data. We want to create the schema, the design, in the design view. Now, if you look here on this data sheet view, okay, it shows up here a little icon, or you can click down and you'll see data sheet view. When it's in data sheet view, you'll see the design because you want to switch to it. If you want to go to design view, you click on pencil or whatever. If you want to go to data sheet view, when we go to design view, the data sheet view will be up here. So then you click that to go to data sheet view. So it just switches back and forth. So you don't always have to put this down arrow. It shows right here that I want to go to, if I click on this, I'm going to end up going to my design view. And now see here, it says save as. What do I want to save this table as? I'm going to say employees. Or you can put employees table if you want to do that. And here you go. So this is where I'm going to design the schema of what I'm going to put in that table. Okay, what fields do I want to know about my employees? Okay, and I can require all my data has the data type. What is the data type? The data type is a place to store the kind of data I want to store. So anything that we're not going to do math with, if we looked here, I don't normally use auto number except in a few instances. So let's start out here. I'm going to put a prefix. I'm going to say ETID for employee table ID. Again, that's in lowercase. See it there? And I do that to identify readily what table I'm in when I start looking at certain fields. Okay, for later on when I start doing my relationships. And it's just something I learned a long time ago. You're not going to find it in your book. You're not going to find it on SAM. But I find it useful. So we're going to ask that you do that in this class, okay? And then I have ID. Now, ID is an abbreviation. Most people, if you say, can I see your ID? You know, most people know what that is. So that's an acceptable abbreviation. You know, don't make up abbreviations that don't mean anything. Okay, some of the common abbreviations, of course, would be DOB for date of birth, especially when you're doing personnel stuff. Another one, SSN. Most people would, if you ask somebody what their SSN is, they know you mean their social security number. Think of it this way, if you went up to somebody and asked them what's your MI, for example, it's kind of, I don't know, you know, some people might say, oh yeah, my middle initial. And I'm going to let you do that here, MI. But that's about it as far as, you know, don't make up abbreviations like, what's your SA for street address? No. If I went up to somebody and said, hey, what's your SA? They're going to go, I have no idea, right? So we're going to make that. I'm not going to use auto number because auto number means it'll just, every time I add a record, it changes the number. Okay. No, I want to be more specific than that. I'm going to make mine short text because I'm not going to do math with it. And that's the data type you're going to pick if you're not going to do math, or it's not a date. If it's a date or something you're going to do math with, you're going to put a number in there. If it's a picture, you're going to use attachment. And we'll talk more about some of these other ones. Yes, no is for Boolean questions. In other words, it's a checkbox on your thing. It's like, are you married? Are you a veteran? Yes or no answers, okay? So we're going to make this, like I said, short text. And this over here is our description. So we're going to say employees ID. And then we're going to say primary key. Just so persons know that it's the primary key. And if we go back and look here, that's not the right one. There we go. If we look in our list down here, you can see here, I explain that right here, that you're to create a key field and what you're supposed to put in there. In my case, it says, I'm going to create my employee names or my employee IDs with their first initial, last initial, and some number to go with it. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. And so then let's see what the second one is. I think it's for first name. Okay. But yeah, 15 characters. All right. So then we're going to go back. So it's primary key. Well, I'm going to make it so it's 5 characters long. I don't want to use up a bunch. Again, be economical. Why would I think somebody, the default is 255 characters long? Well, nobody's ID is going to be 255 characters long. It could be 8, it could be something like that. For our general purposes, we're just going to make it 5 or 6. Then format. This is a cool thing. You're going to put a more than sign there because that says, hey, you know what? When they type it in, I want it to be in uppercase. So, like if I'm going to put somebody's initials in there, even if they type them in lowercase in, it's going to convert them. So I'm going to have something like DP. So let's here. I can even put here example. I'll put DP 200. Okay, so that means more than. Caption will be just ID. This is what's going to show up at the top of your field. So we don't want it to show up ETID. We want it to show up ID. Again, we're the person creating this. We're not necessarily the person that's going to be using it. Okay. We're creating the schema, and then as the person that does this, you might be doing this for everybody, and people using that want it to look normal. They don't need to know what the abbreviations are and stuff like that. We'll skip the rest of these for right now. I don't need them. Okay, so there's my first field. And if I was to go back now and look over here, look at that. It says you must save. So I save. And I go back over here and I have one field created. And that's for their ID number. And if I try, I don't want to do it right now, but I'll show you later. If I tried to put in 6 letters or whatever, it won't let me do that. So let's go back. Our second field, you can probably guess it might be first name. That I'm going to say it's short text because it is, and then just first name. Okay. 15 characters should be plenty. Caption will be first name. I don't want it to be all in uppercase. If I did, I'd put more than sign under format. I don't. Then I got middle initial. I said we could abbreviate that. So it's short text again. And then this will be middle initial. I think in the instructions I have this is employees. And I'll show you why this is important here. in the long run is, so the middle initial is going to be one character, format will be more than sign, and then the caption will be MI, M period, I period, something like that. And I'm going to go try and view it, as you must say if I do. And if we look over here now, and I click in one of these boxes, look what it says down here in the left-hand side at the bottom. It says employee's first name. So it says, what do you put in there? If I click here, it says employee's middle initial, et cetera, et cetera. If I click here, it says employee ID, primary key, example, DP200. So it's a prompt for somebody that's using this that doesn't get to see the schema that we created, okay? So then we're going to come down here. We can guess that the next one is last name. What did I do? Last name, 20 characters. Okay. Oh, I didn't put in. I just put MI in it. I didn't put employee, but that's okay. So last name. So we don't really need all these employees here. But so we'll just switch back here. We can take this out if we do. And this is 20 here, and caption will be last name. Now, one thing you might have noticed, see when I did this ET middle initial, just think, if I type out middle initial here, it makes the column here real wide, okay? Right now, I can make that column that small, and it doesn't take up as much room. Now, my last name one, I might have to stretch out to see the full thing. This is kind of like when you were doing Excel, right? Where you could adjust the size of the columns depending on what was in the column. Okay? Because as we add, this is the first name that's going to go in here. Underneath it, the second, third, fourth, fifth will be how many employees I have. Oops, did I finish that one? Yep, last name 20. So the next one will be about ET Street 1. Another street address is the short text. This will be street address. Normally I see what we got. Street address is 50. And I give them 2 street addresses, so it's 50 characters. Caption is street 1. Okay. And then a lot of people might have an apartment number in that, so we're going to be E Street 2. And once again, oops, I got too many S's up here. And this will be 50 also, not that you need it. But some people might have PO boxes and all kinds of things so that they get their mail correctly. So we got our street. So then we need ET city. And let's see how many characters I gave it. 25. That should be sufficient. The caption will just be city. And then we got state. This one, do some special stuff too. And this will be U.S. Postal Service 2-letter state code. And it's going to be 2 letters long. And normally it's uppercase. So if you remember to make it uppercase, we do what? That's right. We put more than sign in the format. And for the caption, you can do ST dot if you want, or you can just type state. Hi, Gina. Hello? Gina?